There's a specific moment when this happens, not during the chaos, not when you're overwhelmed, but when things finally go quiet. You've been busy for weeks. Deadlines, messages, responsibilities. Your days stacked so tightly there's no space to think. And you tell yourself that's the problem, that you're tired because you haven't rested yet, that once things slow down, you'll feel better. Then they do. A free evening, a weekend with nothing planned, a rare moment where there's nowhere you need to be. And instead of relief, your mind fills the silence. The same worry you've been pushing aside, the same regret you never quite resolved, the same fear you've been outrunning. It shows up fully formed, uninvited, persistent, and somewhere inside, a quieter realization lands. You weren't just busy, you were avoiding something. Some people spent their entire lives staying in motion for this exact reason. They fill every gap with noise, every pause with distraction, because stillness feels unsafe, but others begin to notice the pattern, that the thoughts which return aren't random. They arrive precisely when there's finally space. So the question isn't why your mind does this, it's why it waits. When life is fast, your attention is pulled outward. Tasks, problems, deadlines. Your mind stays occupied responding to what's urgent. There's no room for reflection, no bandwidth for emotional processing, no time to notice what's unresolved. But when the pace drops, your nervous system follows, and the things that were waiting quietly beneath the surface begin to rise. Not because they want to harm you, but because they were postponed. This is where many people misunderstand their own mind. They think rest should feel peaceful, that quiet should feel empty. But quiet isn't empty. It's revealing. The thoughts that surface are rarely new. They're familiar, repeated, worn smooth from being revisited so many times. And that repetition isn't a flaw, it's a signal. Your mind doesn't bring things back without reason. It returns to what hasn't been fully integrated, what never had space to be felt, what was too uncomfortable to stay with before. Busyness becomes the perfect hiding place. It looks productive, responsible, even admirable. No one questions someone who's always doing something. But constant motion has a cost. It delays emotional processing. It keeps unresolved questions unresolved. It turns avoidance into a lifestyle. And the longer something is avoided, the more insistently it asks to be seen. This is why vacations can feel unsettling, why weekends feel heavier than weekdays, why the moment you sit still, your chest tightens instead of softens. Your mind is finally doing what it couldn't do before. It's turning inward. The thoughts that return often point to truths that don't fit neatly into a busy life, a relationship that no longer feels right, a direction that doesn't align anymore, a loss that was never properly mourned. Not crises, but quiet contradictions. And those contradictions don't disappear just because you stay distracted. They wait. There's a difference between being occupied and being at peace. Occupied minds don't ask hard questions. Peaceful ones can tolerate them. Modern life makes avoidance effortless, endless scrolling, background noise, content that fills every silence. You never have to sit with yourself if you don't want to. But the thoughts don't vanish. They queue. And when external stimulation drops, they take their turn. What's often labeled as overthinking is actually deferred thinking. The mind circling what it never had permission to finish. Not everything that returns is asking for action. Some things just want acknowledgement, to be felt without being fixed, named without being judged. The discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something was paused. When you stop resisting these thoughts, something subtle shifts. They lose urgency. They soften. They stop demanding attention through repetition. Not because they've been solved, but because they've been allowed. Stillness doesn't create the thoughts, it reveals them. And the ones that return most often aren't punishments, they're reminders of feelings that were never given space, of questions that were never answered, of parts of yourself that were never listened to. The mind doesn't surface these things to overwhelm you. It does it because it finally can. That's why life slowing down doesn't always feel calm. It feels honest, and the real tension isn't between rest and productivity. It's between avoidance and presence. The moment you stop running, the mind stops shouting. Not because everything is resolved, but because it's no longer being ignored. And that's what peace actually looks like. Not silence, but the ability to remain present when the noise finally fades.